In this lesson, we're going to learn about loan repayment schedules, and we're going to do that by creating a reducing interest loan repayment schedule in Excel. Many of you are familiar with the basics of Excel, so I won't go over that in detail, but I've included a link so that if you're not confident with Excel, you can have a bit more practice at the basics. So the first thing I want to do is to close this spreadsheet down, and just to remind you that either you might have an Excel icon on your toolbar there, you can press that, or perhaps the start menu and all programs if you're on a PC, and Microsoft Office, that'll take you to an Excel button. So you need to work out the best way to get to Excel on your device. So here's the screen that you look at when you open Excel, and Excel is divided into these boxes or cells, and each cell has a unique address. So the cell that I've got the cursor on at the moment is column E and row 6. It's address E6, and you can see that if you go up to this square here, which is called the address bar. And I'm just going to go now, if I click on this cell, that is cell E3, and I'll put the number 3 by typing into cell E3, and I'm going to put the number 4 below it by typing into cell E4, and then in the cell below, this is in E5, I'm going to go equals E3 plus E4. You can see that Excel comes up with some helpful hints along the way, but I'm not interested in that. And then I press enter, and 3 plus 4 is 7. So let's go back into that cell, E5, and I'm now going to click up here in what we call the formula bar, and what we put in cell E5 here was E3 plus E4. Inside it, cell E3 is the number 3, inside cell E4 is the number 4, 3 plus 4, and I press enter again, 3 plus 4 equals 7. So that's a recap of some basics. Now, if I want to go 3 times 4, I use the star symbol in Excel, 3 times 4, and that's still in cell E6. 3 times 4 is 12. And if I want to have 3 divided by 4 and 3 divided by 4, Excel will show me that as a decimal. There's the divided sign. It's the slash in Excel. 3 divided by 4 is 0.75. So there's a recap of the basics. I'm going to remove these cells by pressing delete. And then I'm going to, because I've created a loan schedule before, I'm going to just bring that back. So I press on File, Recent, and I bring up a file I've created, and that shows you a loan. Now, I'll explain the loan schedule, and from the work we've done so far in this unit, you should be able to follow each of the calculations in the loan schedule, and I'll take you through those. So the first thing I want to take you to is the important numbers in the loan schedule that tell me about the loan. And I'll click here, cell B2, and that shows the loan amount. There's a heading there in A2, and that's the loan amount, $10,000. The loan interest rate, 6%, and then the loan repayment. So here we've got a 3-year loan. We've set up a 3-year loan schedule, and the loan repayment, $3,741 and 9 cents. That's the amount that will repay the loan after 3 years. So now I want to have a look at the headings for the schedule, and I want to start off with column B. We've got amounts still owing at the start of the year. Well, amount owing at the start is $10,000. That's the loan amount, and then that reduces each year because repayments are made. The next column, interest charge for the year, and the interest charge in the first year is $600. That's 6% times $10,000. And again, that reduces each year as repayments are made. The loan repayment, 3741.09. Remember, that was by trial and error. We found 3741.09 was the amount that paid the loan after 3 years, and that amount doesn't change. We make the same payment each year. And then the final column, amount still owing at the end of the year. And you can see that reduces as each payment is made, and reduces to 3 cents by the end of year 3, and that would write down to 0. I want to come to the next tab, and in the next tab I've just included a copy of the schedule where I can show you the calculations that go into year one. And as we can see, cell B15 I've highlighted now, that shows the amount of the loan at the start, $10,000. Interest charge for the first year, as I said, 10,000 times 0.06 or 6%. Loan repayment is the same every year. And then that amount still owing at the end of the year, well, that's the amount still owing at the start, $10,000, plus the interest there in C6, $600, minus the loan repayment, 3741.09. That would be the amount that you pay to the bank for your loan in that year. And that leaves 6858.91 as the amount outstanding. And then you make another repayment in the second year and another in the third year to pay off that loan. So to see how we create that reducing interest loan repayment schedule, let's go to a blank sheet. I'll click on the next sheet, which is called sheet. We're on a clean sheet, and now I'm going to put in my headings. And the first thing I'm going to do is the overall schedule heading, and I've type in reducing interest loan schedule. So there, I've typed in the heading, reducing interest loan schedule. I press enter, and that's typed into cell A1, but you can see that going across the top of the schedule. And now I want to put in all of the important information for the loan. So there's the loan amount, and I'll just keep typing in these headings. So there I've typed in each of cells A2, A3, and A4, loan amount, interest rate, and repayment. And now I can put those actual amounts in cells B2, B3, and B4. But before that, I'm just going to make this column A wider so that we can see the headings when I start typing. And I'm going to make column B a bit wider too. So now I put $10,000 because we're making the same loan as before. I'm going to put 6%, and I'll put that as 0.06. And then I want to show you something on the formatting ribbon. Up here is a formatting ribbon, and the number format, if I press percentage, Excel now uses 6% instead of 0.06, but when it does calculations, it'll do the right calculations. And then the repayment amount, and we did that by trial and error before, 3741.09, and I press enter, there's the repayment amount. Now we come to the column headings for my loan sheet. And the first one is the loan amount owing at the start. The next one was the interest charged. And for this, I'll just make those columns wider. And I'll do the same for D and D. We'll make those a bit wider. And so this is interest charged, and then I'll fill in the rest of the headings. And there you see I've typed in the rest of the headings, amount owing at the start, interest charged for the year, repayment, and amount owing at the end. Now the headings for the rows, and those headings are year 1 to 3. So I type in year 1, I press enter, and Excel has a nice little trick. If I put the cursor on cell A6 and I put the mouse on the bottom right-hand corner, I left click and just drag that down, and that brings up year 2 and year 3. So Excel knows what I want to put into those cells. Now let's put in the formula for the numbers that I need in my schedule. And for year 1, the amount owing at the start, it's $10,000, but I'm not going to put in $10,000. I'll put equal, and I'll click on cell B2, and that brings that loan amount down. Interest charge for the year equals 6% of the amount owing at the start. So I'm going to click on my left arrow, and I get the $10,000 times, remember that's asterisk in Excel, and 6%. So I'm going to click on this cell B3 for 6%. Repayment, and I'm going to just click on the repayment amount. Well, first of all, I'll put in an equal to show Excel I want to put in a formula, and I click on the repayment amount. And then finally, the amount owing at the end. Well, that equals the amount owing at the start. So I can either use my arrows, or I can click directly into the cell B6, amount owing at the start, plus the interest charge for the year, cell C6, and I can just click on that with my cursor. C6 minus the amount of the repayment. Click on cell D6 and then press enter. And if I go back to cell E6, the amount owing at the end for year 1, and I'll just come up here to show you the formula bar, B6 plus C6 minus D6. When you're using Excel, you should play about with some of the buttons, and don't worry if you make a mistake. So if I type 555 here, but I didn't really want it, I can always undo everything that I've done by coming up here to this reverse arrow. That's the undo arrow. And so that takes away what you've done. So don't be afraid to experiment. Okay, now coming to year 2. And the amount outstanding at the start, well, that's just the amount outstanding at the end of year 1. So I'm going to go equals, and I'm going to capture cell E6. And I press on there, press enter, and E6 goes into that formula. Now, for the interest charge repayment and the amount owing, those formulas look very much like the formulas above. So Excel's got some neat tricks for copying those down. But before I do, I just need to click on, now B3, remember, is the interest rate. And I need to tell Excel, by pressing F4, I tell Excel that that's fixed. That doesn't change throughout. And then I press enter. And I do the same for the repayment. And I click on it, press F4, and that says the repayment doesn't change throughout. And now I can copy down the formula from B7, and I can copy down all of these formulae by, again, putting my cursor on the bottom right, left click, and then just pull that down. And Excel knows that I want to bring those same formula into all of the schedule. And you can see now that the amount outstanding at the end, it's not rounded, it's 0.02876, which is like 3 cents at the end, so the loan is repaid. And if I highlight this, highlight all the numbers, I can go to the format ribbon and press dollars, and that tells Excel I want to show all of those amounts as dollars and cents. And so the amount outstanding at the end is 3 cents. And all the numbers start to look like the schedule that we created before. That's our loan schedule. And now that we've created our loan schedule in Excel, you can change loan amounts or interest rates, and the numbers are automatically updated. You can even extend the number of years that you want to repay the loan just by copying the formula down. So now go back to your web page and have a look at the exercises for you to do.